For the next question, we're going to start with Mr. Westgallett. As mayor, would you support the city entering into development deals like City North? Yes or no, and why? And as we all know, there were taxpayer dollars associated with that project and others like it.
Right. I would not have voted for City North, and the reason why is what I would look at is this a deal that everybody can benefit from? Is this too expensive for every business to have? And the City North deal was way too expensive for everyone else to have. I don't think it's a good idea to be picking winners and losers. I think we have to have overall policies that apply to everyone that make the economy grow for everybody who's involved.
Mr. Stanton, did you want to answer that question as well?
Well, we have to be smart about this. City North was simply not smart. You don't need to subsidize to the tune of $97 million a parking garage for a North Phoenix shopping mall. Desert Ridge, right next door, didn't have that. It doesn't mean you're against subsidies. You just have to be smart about it. I've supported many subsidies that support density in downtown, like Cityscape, which is a smart decision, but giving away dollars unnecessarily doesn't make sense at all, and that's why City North, to me, sends the wrong message to the capital markets and others that we're not serious about building the economy for the future, that we're going to do business kind of the same old, same old. We need to change our ways if we're going to really compete in this international economy.
Having been one of the several council members that did support the City North, I will say that at the time it made sense to me. It was about leveraging private sector dollars to generate more revenue to the city of Phoenix. And while everyone talks about the $97 million that supposedly we, the city of Phoenix, wrote a check to this developer, the truth of the matter is that we haven't written a dime to that developer. We've actually made money on City North. We made $3 million last year in sales tax revenue on City North. And from a sustainability, we talk about sustainability, Greg, you mentioned it a couple of times already. We're talking about building density, eliminating a sea of parking for a parking garage, which will allow us to take the extra land that's been freed up and build more retail so that we can generate the additional sales tax dollars. So to me, it made sense. Would I support it today? Understanding what has transpired and how this has been characterized? No, I wouldn't. But I did support Cityscape as well. So I'm looking at how do we generate more sales tax revenue to pay for the programs that I am looking at for our future and that these other mayors would be looking at if they're fortunate enough to get elected. Thank you.
Well, Mr. Mattis, let me follow up with that and ask you, if in fact there was a vote today, you say knowing what you know now, what could you have done prior to your vote and support for that project that may have given you better foresight into a decision?
Well, the issue, quite frankly, has to do with the fact that everyone kind of glommed onto the $97 million. There was no discussion at all about the performance agreement that was put into place, that in order for that $97 million to be paid out over a 10-year period, that there had to be almost $200 million of additional sales tax revenue generated from that project. So from my perspective, as a businessman, if I can use someone else's money to double my money, then I'm going to do that. And that's the way I looked at City North. Now, unfortunately, that was not the way it was characterized, and in the long run, everyone decided that we had spent $100 million that we haven't spent, other than the $200,000 that we spent on a lawsuit. And as I said, because of the way that it ultimately was characterized, I would not support it today, even though it may have made sense, or it might still make sense. Today, it's obviously from what we've seen from the public, they won't support it, and I won't support it again.
Mr. Stanton, I think you want to have a rebuttal there, but let me first go to Mr. Eichenauer. Sir, did you want to chime in on this answer?
I've always supported the Goldwater Institute in its position that the city, the county, the state should not be favoring one business over the other, and that's why they sued the city of Phoenix. And The Judicial Department of Arizona apparently agreed with them, and so I'm very happy that the City of Phoenix is now conforming with the Arizona Constitution.
Mr. Stanton?
And this is a critically important issue facing the future of Phoenix, because not only should we talk about the details of City North, but whether or not we need to eliminate the City North mentality from the thinking of the City of Phoenix, whether subsidizing suburban shopping malls and suburban growth on the outskirts of town should be done at the expense of Central Phoenix neighborhoods, Central Phoenix local businesses, the downtown. You gotta be smart about this. We didn't make money off City North. It's a shopping mall. Of course, when retail sales tax dollars come in, some of it's going to flow to the city. The question is whether or not it was smart to entice them with a $97 million subsidy. Now, of course, we didn't have the money given away yet, thank goodness. It would have been worse. The reality is that the shopping mall didn't work very successfully. That's why we haven't given away the money. City North didn't make sense when it was done, and it doesn't make sense today.
The next question is going to be directed to Mr. Eichenauer. Business leaders like the former CEO and board chairman of Intel have said that factors like education, quality of life, social equality, and vibrant, forward-thinking governments are major attractors for new companies, most specifically clean air technologies, alternative energy, and green industries. Assuming you agree with that, how would you work toward a more socially inclusive and forward-thinking government to attract new business and turn around our economic decline?
I think the city government should be treating everybody equally, whether that be social equality, whether that be age, whether that be the size of your business. And if the city government just stops picking winners, because anytime they pick a winner, there's somebody who loses out in that equation, that's what I would do. Thank you.
Mr. Stanton?
Well, thank you. Something very important happened recently, and that is almost 100 of the top CEOs of this community wrote a letter to members of the legislature and said, stop with your divisive public policy. It is hurting this economy. Enough is enough. We need not only the business leadership to do that, the political leadership needs to do that as well, because beyond tax breaks, et cetera, the message that we send that we're not an inclusive community hurts us in business. We have to get education right, we have to get community right, we have to get neighborhoods right, we have to get arts and culture right, and we have to get public policies at the state legislature right as well if we're going to build those jobs for the future. I believe, as I mentioned in my beginning, Craig Barrett is right when he says that he doesn't have the confidence long-term in the leadership to supporting education, and that they would not have made that decision moving forward. Again, that is a call to action. All of us, not just state leadership, city, faith community, business leadership, the nonprofits, all of us need to heed that call. It's very important.
We need to work in partnership with business, there's no doubt. We have to work with the business leadership to look at how we're going to attract jobs from other states. But one of the reasons why jobs are leaving California and going to Texas and bypassing us is because of cost and political stability. We've got to offer political stability to this community, and that means that we need to focus on the things that the city government can do and do well. And the second thing we've got to do is we've got to hold the line on cost, because the people who are making decisions about where they're going to locate new industries and new businesses in our economy today are looking at trend lines. They're looking at whether or not we have a trend line that is adding cost, and right now we do. And we've got to hold those costs down. We've got to have political stability, and then we'll be attractive to investment, and we'll be attractive to those companies who are going to grow and come here.
It's about getting back to the basics, and I've enumerated them several times. It's neighborhoods, it's schools. They will help us to attract jobs. But more specifically, we need to reach out to the business community. They better know their business, and they better know how we can attract businesses to Arizona. They understand what we need to do to streamline so that we can make it easier for new businesses to come in, but we also need to focus on those businesses that are here, and how do we grow those businesses? How do we make them stronger? And that's what I'm going to focus on, so that we can be successful when the economy does turn around.
Mr. Maddox, since you have the microphone, we'll start with you. You represent a racially diverse district. In light of SB 1070 and the shifting demographics of the city of Phoenix, what do you see as the role of the mayor in ensuring access and equality for communities of color in the city?
Well, it's access and equality not just for communities of color. It's access and equality for all citizens of the city of Phoenix. And, you know, frankly, that's something that I have been proud of, is that I have represented an extremely diverse community. And I've always looked at it as, what can I do to make this community safer? What can I do to make our community stronger? How do we provide the same level of education for all of these kids? How do we provide jobs? And it's been about economic development for me in my community, because it has been economically challenged. So all of the things that I keep saying is because my experience on the city council has demonstrated to me that we need to stay focused on the basics. And as far as diversity is concerned, my door has always been open. I'm always willing to sit down and have the conversation to see how we can better improve our community. And regardless of race, color, creed, regardless of orientation, I want everyone to know that you're always welcome to come sit down and have a conversation with me, so that I can better understand your issues and try to help solve any problems that you have, but we can move forward together.
And Mr. Gullett, if you're going to piggyback on this answer, I would like you to incorporate, you talked about, attracting business. As the mayor, when you're dealing with the legislature passing bills like SB 1070 and some of the bills we saw this legislative session, how do you counteract the stigma that has come along with the name of Arizona right now?
Oh, one of the key things we have to do is we have to celebrate our diversity. This is a great city that is enormously diverse. We have a rich tradition and history, and we have to celebrate it. And as mayor of Phoenix, I'm going to lead the charge on doing just that. We need to put a new brand on Arizona, and that's a brand of celebrating our rich traditions and our history and our diversity. And if we do that, we'll make huge progress in that very way. But we also, Greg said we needed to have a leadership moment and go down and fight against the bills that were in the legislature. We have to be careful about the job that we do as mayor of Phoenix, I believe. I think that we have to work with the legislature. We have to partner with the legislature. We have to be able to have a conversation with the legislature and tell them when they're wrong. But I don't think that we just have to pick fights with them, because if we're picking fights with the legislature, then we're not going to be successful in the long run on the important issues facing our city.
Mr. Stanton.
Excellent. This is a critically important question for the future of our city. I view the role of the mayor as an expansive one. You're not just a person in charge of the sewer, the water, the street system. You are the face of the city, and you have to use the bully pulpit of the mayor's office effectively. And when things are happening at the legislature which hurt our citizens, which hurt our economy, like some of the bills that were going on at the legislature, you have to speak loudly. I did. I didn't hesitate. I spoke. I've already put out press releases and emails to my followers saying where I am on these very difficult issues. I wish the rest of the folks on the stage would as well. Look, this is not, the issue of diversity is one in which it represents Phoenix itself. Look at the latest census numbers. We under the age of 18, the majority of our students happen to be Latino. That is the future of our community. And so as education goes for those young people, so goes the future of the city. That's why I'm making education the top priority for me as mayor. Improving the Head Start programs, improving our after-school program, make it a more academic base, having a STEM education program for our local high schools using bond dollars, and creating a mayor's education roundtable where the mayors take the lead relative to education, rolling up our sleeves and working with our public education partners. It's not someone else's problem, it's all of our problem, particularly at the city level, and I embrace that role.
Thank you.
hear that Mr. Stanton has concerns about SB 1070. If you consult with your programs, you'll notice that I did condemn SB 1070 as a witch hunt, and I certainly do not support it.